everybody, Linda here, the scrapbooking photographer. Guess what the colour for today is? It's pink. Yep, I'm taking part in the Rainbow Crush Hop for pink and also the Get Into Shape Hop, and this month the shape is Hexagons. And I'm also using a sketch from Follow a Sketch February by Kim Keen, and this was day 3 of Follow a Sketch February, which I didn't get to on day 3, so I'm doing it today in conjunction with these other 2 hops. And my photos are flowers, but I've cut some things out in readiness, and I'm just going to get straight in to the stenciling, which has a hexagon shape. And the stencil I'm using is an old Close to My Heart one, which, as you can see, I've used quite a bit. The ink I'm using is Pretty in Pink, which is an in colour with Stampin' Up for these 2 years. I'm just going to use my blending brush in the middle of the stencil, and I decided to turn it on its side so that it took up more of that space. I will end up moving my photos a little bit to the left on this page, a little bit further left than on the sketch. So there will be more room on the right for this to show up. So that's why I turned it on its side. And then I'll bring it down to the bottom left, and when I come down there, I'll turn it around so it's upstanding, because that will be more in keeping with the space that's down there. The background cardstock is a lighter pink. It came from the family pack of Subtles. So the Pretty in Pink is a little bit darker and it shows up quite nicely against it. And I'll also use the Pretty in Pink cardstock as a contrast to mount the photos with. So when I take the stencil away, we've got those 2 areas that are all hexagoned. To add a little bit of extra texture and shape, I'm going to use this new stamp from Elements of Text. And there's lots of different shapes of random text in the set. And I've chosen this round one and just slightly dabbing it onto the page with the ink. So I don't need to be able to read it, and I'm quite happy if it's a little bit faded and higgledy-piggledy with the way it comes through. So it just adds an extra dimension to the page. And then when I'm finished with that, I'll clean the stamp off with the chamois and put it back into its container. And then I think I can fold the ink pad up and put that away too. I'm still getting used to the way these Stampin' Up pads work, but starting to get the swing of it. Then I'll bring in these 3 strips of paper. As I mentioned, I'm bringing the photos a little bit over to the left. Now this first strip comes from the Unbounded Beauty pack, and I've just cut a strip off a 12 by 12, and then I've got that Pretty in Pink strip, and then also the Glimmer equivalent. So those are both in colours, and they mix quite well with that Unbounded Beauty. I've cut the 2 plain strips a little bit shorter and staggered them in the middle there as per the sketch. And bringing in the photos, you can see that I have trimmed them to a square shape. I've got 2 that are 3-inch squares and 1 that's 3.5-inch squares. And I'll put the bigger one in the middle as per the sketch. I'll also mount them in squares in the Pretty in Pink, which will help to outline them against the lighter pink below. So I've cut these mounting squares 1/4 inch wider all the way round. So for the 3-inch squares, I've made it 3 1/4 inches, and that just gives an 1/8 inch frame all the way round. So as you can see, I'll put the bigger one in the middle and then the smaller ones above and below. The roses this day were quite heavy with all the water that we'd had from the rain, so they were a little bit droopy. But I was really pleased to see so many still in bloom so that I could show my cousins who were with me from Australia. So we had a lovely wander around the gardens and saw all the different colours. And of course, with this hop just being for pink, those are the only ones that I have chosen for this page. But when I do the companion page, I will put some photos of us in there as well. So as you can see, I'm now bringing in some hexagon shapes. Now the hexagons I have cut out from the Meant to Be die cut set, which is fabulous. There's 5 different sizes of hexagons, and when you cut them you get the solid middle plus that frame around the outside, so you end up with lots of options that you can use. So what I thought I would do is use this glimmer one down the bottom on the right as a journaling box, and then scatter different ones around the page just to blend them in as best we can. So I do put this plain one underneath the photo here, and I change it later for the one that's cut out of the unbounded beauty paper. So you'll see me just dry fitting these around before I stick anything down. These hops will be really interesting to see what other people come up with for pink and for hexagons, and also on Follow a Sketch February how people interpret this sketch. So the Rainbow Crush hop is hosted by Tara from the Paper Snob community, and the Get In Shape one is hosted by Miranda Weber. And Follow a Sketch February is an annual event hosted by Sandy Reversky from Scrapping Reflections. So do make sure you follow the links below in the description box and see what everybody else comes up with for these 3 different hops. So now I'm sticking these down. I've tried to group them together so that they're all sort of touching something else. And I think that unbounded beauty paper, bringing in a little bit of white to this page, will work well when I bring in a white base for the companion page on the right. So I think we're just about finished sticking these down. I do put this solid one in the top of that journaling box just to link the box with the 3 shapes above it, and then I find that it's a little bit crooked, so I do have to lift it up and manoeuvre it. And because they're so fine, these different frames, you do have to be a little bit careful, but I think it looks better once it's straight. Now I need a title, and I've actually resorted to Daisy Daisy from Close to My Heart with this lovely title that says Sweet Moments, which I think will fit quite nicely both colour-wise and also for what's going to be showing on the other page as well. And the flowers did smell very sweet too. So again, it's bringing in a little bit of white, which will blend well with the white on the right-hand page when that page comes in. So always mindful of the double page spread, even when only working on one page. There's a couple of other little stickers on this page that I will use. One up in the top left-hand corner, and the circles with the hexagons just provide a little bit of a contrast. And then I've also found a little arrow that I can put next to the title, just indicating to the right-hand page. Also in the Meant to Be die set, there are these little flowers. There's 6 little flowers, which is really cool to have that many, because it means that you can cut 6 out at a time. So I'll get a piece of this pretty in pink and I'll cut 6 out in that colour, and I'll also cut 6 out in the glimmer paper as well, so that I can scatter them around on the page. So I've used my pick me up tool to pick them up and put some glue on the back of them. The glue will dry clear, so you won't see any of that once it's all dry, and you'll be able to see that in the still photos at the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video come together. It was certainly one I was looking forward to doing, and I love this sketch to work with. It was really cool, so thank you very much, Kim. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please think about doing that today. I'm trying very hard to get to 500 subscribers in the early part of this year, and I'd love to have you along as part of the journey. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much. Your support is much appreciated. Just to finish off this page now, I have some in colour little dots that I can pop around. There's 2 shades of pink on this card. There's the Pretty in Pink, which we've been using today, and also the Petunia Pop, which is a slightly darker pink. So that just mixes up the colours a little bit, staying within the pink hues. And when I had finished putting these little dots around there, I decided the outside of the page needed a little darker edging. So rather than cut any of it off to put a piece of cardstock behind it, I got the Pretty in Pink ink out again with the blending brush and just erased around the outside to give it that darker edge to the finish. And that is my page for these 3 hops. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to see what everybody else has come up with in these hops as well. And happy crafting, everyone.